Hi, I'm Melissa Cobb. Come fly with AOPA. This week we give you a primer on high-density altitude operations, meet up with some of the friendliest P-51 Mustang pilots we've ever met, and introduce you to Rachel St. Louis. She could be aviation's next quadruple threat.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
EAA AirVenture had a record-setting year, 677,000 attendees, and we came from 93 different countries around the world. It was a great AirVenture and it was packed. Unfortunately, the event ended on a somber note. There were 2 fatal accidents that happened on Saturday, the last weekend of the air show. The first was a North American T-6 piloted by Devin Riley, and her passenger was Zach Cully Moreno. The aircraft went down in Lake Winnebago, which is close to Whitman Regional Airport where the event was taking place. Then later on Saturday afternoon, a helicopter and a gyrocopter collided on the south end of the flight line. Both on board the helicopter were killed. It was pilot Mark Peterson and his passenger Thomas Bowles. Now, the 2 on board the gyrocopter sustained injuries and they were taken to the hospital and listed in stable condition at the time. We send our heartfelt condolences to the friends and family of those whose lives were lost in the accidents. High-density altitude operations are something that we all need to learn about and be aware of when we're flying. And AOPA content producer Alicia Heron takes us to Fly Truckee Tahoe and gives us a primer from owner Kevin Sloan.
So one of the things that you really have to deal with here and that we've talked about like in our flights, on every flight, and there's even a sign at the end of the runway before you take off, is density altitude. And as I'm sure you all know, density altitude is?
Pressure altitude corrected for non-standard temperature and pressure.
It's such a risk factor that people really underestimate. And just as you said, you can academically understand something and learn about it and think and then look at your book and say, my POH says that I can do this, but then the reality of doing it is very, very different and it's very, very uncomfortable. And even if you have a really powerful engine, you know, this is a pretty powerful engine, powerful plane. You're a very experienced pilot, you know this area very, very well. And there are a lot of components on this plane to not only have a powerful engine to overcome the density altitude, but also to add lift to the wings to overcome that density altitude, because even with a powerful engine, there's only so much lift that can be created, which I think people often forget, and you sometimes hear the phrase, you know, you can't turbocharge a wing. The other thing is, like, just because you can take off, which you might be able to do, doesn't mean you can outclimb the surrounding terrain, which is a problem we've seen, you know, in accidents in the past, and definitely accidents specifically here as well, that just because you can get off the ground doesn't mean that you can keep climbing and be safe.
Let's go ahead and bring that throttle up to 1700.
Yes, sir.
Or even 1800, whatever it is.
You have the brakes?
I got them.
Okay.
And slowly bring out that mixture.
Okay.
Until you get a dip.
And we're leaning because we're at a high density altitude, right?
You bet.
Leaning for takeoff.
You bet. For best power.
For best power.
All right, let's give it a smidgen of back pressure.
Ooh, just like that. Wow, look at that. Nice.
Well, a normally aspirated engine like these are, they drink fuel and they breathe air. And that fuel to air mixture has got to be a specific ratio to create what we call peak performance or peak power. The higher you are in density altitude at this point, the leaner your mixture has to be to keep that, again, air combination to fuel combination correct. So you do what's called leading it to peak by hearing, or some people have instrumentation that can adjust for that. And even as you climb or descend, you might make more adjustments until you are at sea level, which would be a full rich scenario. And we can't emphasize here how important that is, because you want every ounce of power that you have.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we did all of our operations at not full rich.
Right.
So,
yeah,
which is not, I don't think, the typical experience for people.
No, on a really hot day, you know, you can save some fuel. It's one way to look at it, but we're not here to save fuel. We're here to be safe and smart.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And that's another component that visiting pilots, or, you know, even people who operate out of here, need to be familiar with, is knowing how to get that best power out of your engine, because you are going to want all of it. And flying out of here full rich is absolutely not what you want to do, because that won't be getting the most power.
The checklist doesn't know what altitude you're at. The pilot needs to know what altitude you're at.
Yes, yeah, true. Cool. Well, thanks for all your insights on density altitude and for talking about it. And hopefully, you know, people watching this can take something away. And if you're going to a high density altitude airport this summer, you know, be prepared, or at any time, you know, be prepared, know the performance of your airplane, can take into consideration the weight, and
check with a local pilot.
And check with a local pilot. That's one of the best things about, you know, is calling up and getting that local knowledge and learning about the weather patterns and learning tips on how to fly safely here. Yeah, and fly safe and have a good flying season.
Well, that's great advice to keep in mind, especially for us flatlander pilots, but really for anybody who's flying in high density altitude areas. Well, there are a couple of events coming up in September that we hope you'll join us for. The AOPA Aviator Showcase is taking place September 8th and 9th, and it's going to be right at our headquarters in Frederick, Maryland. It's going to be a great opportunity for pilots, aircraft owners, and industry experts on avionics, insurance, aircraft financing, all of that, to get together and learn more about aviation, buy and sell products. The other event is at Triple Tree Fly-In. That's going to be in South Carolina, and that's September 18th through the 24th. We're going to be hosting the Oasis there, and it'll be a great time to fly in to this pristine grass strip. I love flying into there, and camp out, hang out with friends, take in some educational seminars. You can get more information about both of these events on AOPA.org. We'll drop links to them below in the description. Well, a father and son set out for EAA AirVenture in a North American P-51 Mustang with one mission in mind: introducing folks to the airplane and letting them climb up and sit in it.
Right behind me is a P-51D Mustang. It's named Cavallino. I don't own this airplane, but the owners are so generous. They're great friends of mine, and they asked my son and I to fly it up here to Oshkosh. It really is a privilege. Anytime I get in a machine like this, it takes you back to the historical significance of it. Literally, I'm sitting in an airplane that a 19-year-old kid sat in World War II, going off to fight, you know, and I think about those things, and you feel it in the airplane. You know, you can smell it when you start the engine. You can feel the vibrations, the sounds, the noises. And of course, the Mustang is the best fighter in the world. It's fast, the power is incredible. So I feel honored and privileged to experience the same sort of experiences that a World War II veteran at 19 years old would have experienced. So it's great. We have been very popular here, and the owners of this machine, I could never afford this machine, but the owners of this machine are extremely nice people, very generous people, and they told my son and I, and these are the instructions I got. They said, go fly that Mustang to Oshkosh and be the nicest P-51 pilots that are there. So we have done our best, and we're trying really hard. My son is not here right now, but he spent hour after hour helping people into the cockpit, talking about the airplane. We've had a great turnout of volunteers. If you look behind me, there's people I don't even know that are helping out with people, helping load people, talking about the airplane. It has been very popular, but think about it. The airplane's rare to begin with. The opportunity to just sit in the cockpit is rare, and it's been emotional. I've had some people come up and tell me this has been my lifelong dream for 50 years. I've got pictures and videos of them that, you know, that's my lifelong dream. There are senior veterans that come out of that cockpit with tears coming down their eyes. So I feel privileged to be able to do it.
Darren, thanks for all you did to help fulfill dreams and inspire the love and wonder of flight through the Mustang. There are a couple new videos on our YouTube channel that I wanted to highlight for you. One is a headset review of Quiet Technologies. It's an in-ear headset, one of my favorite headsets. I've used one for many years. And the other is following AOPA social media marketer Eric Webb on a flight in an Aero L39 Albatross. So exciting, reminded me the first time I was fortunate enough to get to fly one of those. So you can check those out. We'll have links to them down in the description below. And now I'd like to introduce you to Rachel St. Louis. So she has started her own aviation business just when she was a young child. She used those profits to help fund her building of a Bush Cat airplane. She built it herself. She's also soloed and working toward finishing up her private pilot certificate, and she plans to be an air traffic controller. I'd call that aviation's quadruple threat.
My name's Rachel St. Louis of Rachel's Jewelry, and this is the Bush Cat. I built this aircraft. This is my airplane, finally done after 6 years. So I started my jewelry business when I was 8 years old, and then when I was 14, I decided I wanted to build my own airplane. I had been flying with my dad for about 4 years at that point, and I decided that, you know, if I'm gonna build an airplane, I have to finance it myself. My parents were not gonna, you know, they weren't gonna pay for it for me, so I used the business, and throughout the years, over 6 years, bought it piece by piece, making money from donations and, you know, selling the jewelry, and eventually got to this point. So in here is a Rotex 912 ULS, 100 horsepower. This airplane can take off in about 300 feet, land in about 300 feet. As you can see, it's very pink. My dad wouldn't let me paint his Cessna pink, so I decided to paint my own airplane pink. Why not? My favorite part about the whole aircraft is the pink panel. It's a bright pink panel, and inside you can see also everything is pink. This right here is Trilam, which is racing yacht sail originally. On the fuselage, the most important part is these little pink airplanes. All these pink little airplanes are people who either have supported me or have donated throughout the years to help me get to this point, because again, as a young girl, I had to raise money on my own, and all these people wanted to help me through the years. So that's the way I decided to give back, is to actually put them on my airplane. These are the elevators. We have a giant trim tab on this airplane. You can basically fly it with the trim. Well, it was kind of surreal actually getting it done, and so last week I sold for the first time in a Bush Cat, and it was my own, so that was really awesome to actually experience, and it made me, you know, proud of myself after all these years. It's perseverance. It's just perseverance, because it took me 6 years, and through that time it's hard because you're growing up, you want to be with your friends, you want to do this stuff, but I would say just keep pushing through, and that really, if I could do it, somebody else could do it, because when I was that young, I was not anything special. So if I could do it, yeah, anybody else can. So I'm in my senior year at Embry-Riddle studying air traffic control. I have 3 minors, one in air traffic transportation, one in applied meteorology, and a minor in psychology. So I got those 3 minors, and I'm in my last year of air traffic control. I'll apply to the academy in Oklahoma City and, you know, take the test and apply to the academy and hopefully get in and start a job working as a controller. I'm gonna just fly for fun. I have this aircraft now, you know, I can go up whenever I want to. Within the next year, we're in Florida, which is a beautiful state to fly in. And then continue on, yeah, just flying for fun, enjoying the airplane that I built.
Well, she sells clothing too. I loved getting to hear her story so much at AirVenture that I stopped by her store there and actually bought some Oshkosh shirts for the whole family. You can check it out. She also has them for other events, including Sun and Fun. We'll drop a link to her website in the description below. And now some congratulations are in order. Last week, we told you about a beautifully restored Cessna 195 that Mike and Dylan Barron had done together. Well, they won Grand Champion in the Vintage Classic Aircraft category for their original restoration of the aircraft. And then we have 2 congratulations closer to home at AOPA, 2 of our very own. Carlos Sillers, he's our aviation maintenance lead and an aviation technical specialist. We lovingly call him the Airplane Whisperer. He won Reserve Grand Champion. That's a silver Lindy for his Plans Built Hats biplane. And AOPA senior photographer David Toulis won Outstanding in the Piper Other category. That was for his recently purchased Piper Tri-Pacer, and we've had videos about that aircraft on our channel before. So congratulations to all of you, well deserved. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Fly with AOPA. Be sure to like and comment to stay up to date on all the latest information. And this week we leave you with some footage from David Toulis, and it's of his arrival in his Piper Tri-Pacer and touching down on that yellow dot. Be sure to send in your favorite flying videos at the link in the description below. And if you're not already an AOPA pilot, we'd love for you to join us. Just click the link at the end of the video to learn more about our trial membership. We'll see you next week.